finger.
What
You weren't
happened to
doing
the
that.
fan in here?
And yeah, it is kind of hot in here
Oh
today.
man, it's
And
warm.
I guess when the cameras in here, you know, I and then get the speakers. That's another addition, Kathryn. This studio is becoming so sophisticated. I don't know if they're gonna throw us out of here or not. So many more things going on here than when we first got started. Anyway, we're glad that you're out there, and we hope you stay tuned for the next hour. And don't forget that at 3:30, another program comes your way, and that's Satora's Black History Corner, and that's from 3:30, usually about 30 minutes. And then if they get really excited about the topic, they may go a little bit longer.
Thank you.
We will stay within our 1 hour format as much as we can, but we don't have our music this afternoon, so that means we can talk a little bit longer. And I'm always willing to.
I felt kind of naked when I didn't hear it come on, so I could get my groove going.
Yeah, and I have no problem talking a bit longer. We used to, having been a classroom teacher for all those years, we used to talk in 55-minute blocks. So without the music, there'd be no problem. Okay, well, we're glad to have you, and I hope you'll stay tuned. We're going to be talking about a couple of things here. Basically, I'm on Facebook a lot, and I try to share some ideas on Facebook. And I'm going to share with the listening audience some ideas I think are pretty original on the situation that's affecting the country. These politicians out here talking about spying and espionage, and I guess they're talking about sabotaging the country and things like that, which they're doing every day. And I want to put some Marcian touches on it before we get off the air this afternoon. But I'm going to start off with an article that came out in Town Hall. I think it came out either yesterday or Saturday. And it's written, Kathryn, by John Hawkins, who is one of the writers for Town Hall. And he did an article that I posted, the original article on Sunday, but I wanted to reiterate it, and I posted some parts of it again today, because I think it's really important. The name of the article is 20 Reasons I Detest the Government. And when you have articles like that, you're after my own heart. Because I cannot think of a word that I can use outside of detest when I'm talking about this government that we have in Washington. I want you to know these are just my opinions. Don't anybody start calling Kathryn Hunter Williams up and blaming her for these comments.
That's right. Get that right. His opinion.
Yeah, these are my opinions. And I take full responsibility for it. And I'm not going to back down from anything that I say along this line, because we, in my estimation, have a government out of control in Washington, D.C. And when you wrote this article, I posted on it originally, and just posted a whole 20 items that he mentioned. And this morning when I got up, I said, well, some people might have missed it because Sunday we're going to church and things like that, and we're busy with our family, enjoying the weekends, getting ready for the next week of trauma on our jobs. And I wanted to reiterate it and just kind of downsize a little bit so that we can start off the week thinking about what John Hawkins said. And if you don't keep up with Town Hall, you probably do not know that John Hawkins is one of the writers there who does a list each week, it seems, on 20 of something that he itemizes and talks about. In this case here was the 20 reasons that he resents, he detests the government. But he's done other articles where he's been listing other things of some import to the public. I just thought this article was one of the ones that stands out. And what I'm going to do is start out with not 1 through around 12, 1 through 11. I'm going to start with number 12. Because I think that number 12 is where he's going to the climax of what he wants to say in this article. Let me read that one to you and have.
You got time to read the whole thing, don't you?
Well, I brought most of them.
From 12 to 20.
12 to 20, because I think that's where he goes to the meat and heart of what he wants to talk about. I have my own reason why I detest the government, but his reason I can definitely
I'd like to hear them all.
Well, let me back up a little bit. But I think I'll start with number 12, and we have the time left over. We'll go back and review some of the others. But I do think starting with number 12 is where he begins to highlight some of the things I think will be some import to those who are listening audience. Number 12 says, listen to this right here, Kathryn. When Congress is in session, you won't find a more corrupt or dishonest group of human beings all gathered in one place outside of a prison.
Sounds like something you would say. Too.
That's why I like that one so much.
Yeah.
I mean I'm surprised.
Outside of a prison.
Outside of a prison, you will not find that many corrupt people in one place
And they
as
are the
you'll
ones who
have
are
when they
running
meet in Congress. And we got to get
our government.
the Congress of the United States is a bunch of corrupt people wearing business suits. And I said today in my article, Kathryn, I tried to go through it and look at what I think is going on in Washington, D.C., which we got a major problem here. And that is that I can't count but 3 persons on the Supreme Court that have any integrity. There are 9 persons on the Supreme Court. When I look at the Congress, you know how many? There are 535 members of Congress. I can't count more than 5 persons in that Congress that have any integrity. And I know
only 5 out of 530.
There are more than that. I'd be shocked. In fact, let me just tell you this. Earlier this year, Tom Coburn, he is one of those persons that have a lot of integrity, was on one of the PBS programs. Here's what he said. Now, he's from Oklahoma and getting ready to step down in 2014 because he's like Ron Paul, just disgusted with the whole apparatus is up there in the nation's capital. But Tom Coburn said this in the PBS interview that I think went on at the first of the year. He said that if people knew what was going on in Washington, if they knew what was going on in Congress, they would get rid of 90% of the members of Congress. And then he said, maybe all of them.
Yeah, I was going to go a little higher than 90%.
Yeah, but he was saying that what we may do, when we understand what they really are doing in terms of governing this country, which has ceased to be a republic. I don't have a date for you when it stopped being a Republican form of government, but our government's not listening to us. And the idea,
don't care about us.
And Article 4, which is requires that every state have a Republican form of government, and therein you would assume the federal government must be an extension of that, and therefore they are a Republican form of government also, meaning that we have representatives, they are listening to the voice of the people. We have, I don't know when that stopped, but we haven't had that at least for the last 70 years. It's worse now than it's ever been before. We haven't had that in the last 70 some odd years, starting with Roosevelt, and probably before that, in terms of where we began to get off the strictures of how the law ought to be underneath the Constitution.
Is it because when they're doing their campaigning, they say what the people want to hear, and then once they get in office, they just don't keep the promises anymore?
That is what they do in terms of getting elected, which is number 1, 2, and 3 of their priority list. They want to get elected, get reelected, and they'll say everything in order to do it. But there's something else as the grounding point of the person who can do that, and that is the absence of any kind of moral strictures that maintain them within the confines of the codes of law that govern this country. These people are tyrants.
Well, after one term, and they see that these people have turned their backs actually on them, those that believed in them and believed in their promises. After one term, why do they reelect them again?
Because they wear the mask. You know that poem by Paul Dunbar that said, "We wear the mask."
Yeah,
you know what? Their power.
The mask is taken off once they get in there, and you see that they're not doing what.
These are people that's very good at that.
Deceitful, huh?
Yeah, Kathryn, let me give you an example of what I'm talking about here in terms of the masks they wear. Take the hearings they have going on right now in Washington.
The who?
The hearings. These are
the hearings, the IRS hearings.
Those hearings, the NSA, the IRS. They would have the American.
And Benghazi.
Yeah, they would have the American people to believe.
Or is that done?
That this is not business as usual. Mm-hmm. That this is somehow an aberration of how Washington operates, and therefore we have to look into it and investigate what's really going on here, because we are shocked at the level of corruption that we're now witnessing in Washington, D.C.
And cover-ups.
That's part of the disguise that they're wearing.
Is Benghazi, am I off track here? Because Benghazi was a big cover-up. And what's that woman's name that he just put over national security? Rice, not Condoleezza.
Susan
Rice.
Mm-hmm.
Is they related anyway, Condoleezza?
No, not related blood-wise, no, ideologically are they even remotely close?
Well, why would she did a cover up, went on national television talking about it was a terrorist deal. Another one is, wasn't that on Hillary's watch? She was the state secretary of state. That was her watch, wasn't it?
Sure.
And yet we know now that they had called in people to they needed more protection there, and they didn't send it in there. So was that all a setup by Hillary Clinton?
Well, no.
And why did he appoint that woman, Susan Rice, over national security? Because when they was going to do it, he was going to appoint her as Secretary of State because of the Benghazi hearings and things that came out. She didn't get that, but he puts her over national security.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on here?
James Carville.
And I'm talking about our President Obama.
Yes, James Carville came out when that appointment was made. Now, he's a supporter of the president's administration. And he said that this was as in your face as anything has ever been. In other words, you would have thought, if you're trying to reclaim the integrity of the office, here's a woman that's been discredited because she went before the public
and lied.
The Sunday,
straight out blatantly
on 5
lied.
programs in the aftermath of Benghazi, and lied about what had transpired, blamed on a tape. A man's in jail right now for this falsification of information. And she's appointed by this president to a key position in his administration. Congress or nobody can
mess with her or vote on against that or bring up anything, but like McCain, which is one of them I do not like, said that he would support her. But if it had anything to do with Congress or the Senate, she would not have got that position either.
That's why she was not appointed to the Secretary of State position, because she had before confirmation. What this president did was get her to go around the Congress by giving her a position and needs no confirmation by the Senate as called for in.
Why did he do that though?
Because this president is not a respecter of the laws of this country, and he certainly doesn't respect the Constitution, which he violates.
But why did he appoint her? I mean, it was other people.
These are people inside of the ideological
She came
tent.
with him, didn't she? On his when he was elected in 2008, she was one of his people that came with him at that time.
Yeah, this is ideology.
Oh,
this is ideology.
We call that nepotism.
Yeah, this is ideological
cronyism.
Yeah, it's certainly that, and the service of the country. That is on the. I think that's one of the things that John Hawkins is going to list in terms of how
they list that they lied to us.
Yes, that's in this list as well.
I do detest that.
They do that on a regular basis, but you know what? Their power does not come from the barrel of the gun. They certainly have the barrel of the gun in their advantage, as can be seen, Kathryn, by the fact that they actually take your money up through taxes, and they're now getting ready to give a $70 million bonus, $7 million in bonuses to the IRS. One person raised the question: is that a hush-hush money? Is that a bribery for keeping quiet? I wouldn't define it that way, but they're getting a bonus. How do the American people feel about that? In the aftermath, we'll be finding out about the IRS. But be that as it may, they went and spent $50 million on 225 conferences where they're learning how to do such important things of the IRS, learning how to do its job, as doing the boogaloo and doing aerobics and things like that on the taxpayer's dime. And why do they do it? They do it because this is not about representative government. This is about tyranny and power. But the way that they actually hide that is they claim that when they get caught, they're going to investigate the things that look to be out of control. When we find out about it and it becomes publicly known, they want to run an investigation, which all of that is just about quieting the American people back down so they can continue business as usual. I will give you an example of that. Take Elijah Cummings from Maryland. Take Elijah Cummings, representative from Maryland. He announced, before we have even gotten to the end of investigating the IRS, that the problem has been fixed, everything is over, we can go home now. And what Cummings did was just jump the gun to do what they're going to do at the end of the process. What he did was jump the gun and do it before the process was actually finished, and that's what they were crying out about, him being premature. But that's going to be the announcement. The IRS is not going anywhere, and we're going to have, and we're not going to have the flat tax, which would be a democratic way of having a tax code through which everybody has some skin in the game. That's not going to happen, and the IRS is still going to be standing when this is over. And those persons out in the listenership of PentalRadio.com who think that this is an aberration, go back and look at the IRS being used for political purposes under other administrations, and see if you can make the argument that this is something that we should have been shocked about, because as bad as it is now, it was bad under the administration. Look at what Roosevelt was doing when he was in fact using the IRS to attack his political foes, such as Huey P. Long in Louisiana and others. And one of the impeachment charges brought against Richard Nixon, if he had not resigned, would have been using the IRS for illicit purposes. And he resigned before those charges brought to bear, but he was using the IRS for illegitimate reasons. So this is not something that's new on the horizon. That is how that agency is constructed, and that's why they're not going to get rid of it, because they need a hammer over the heads of the American people. Because how else can they intrude into your space if they don't have the IRS as an agency? If they had a flat tax that says, okay, your percentage of your income to be paid in federal taxes will be this, the government is therefore out of your life at that point. But the IRS can do what they did in the case of the conservatives, which is that if they don't like your politics, they use a tax structure to come after you, which is what they want to have in place.
People have always said the power to tax is the power to destroy. And that's what it is. The political people, when they don't like some movement, it's gaining momentum, they can use the IRS to see if they go, up there cracking their butt to make sure everything's done right. And then they extract a huge sum of cash from them to either shut up and go away or to pay fines that they put on them. They can't find any wrongdoing. The IRS is just nothing more than a tool of abuse and of intimidation. That's all it is.
That's all it is. You pay your taxes.
Big intimidation.
Yeah, and
Scare the hell out of you.
Every time you get a letter from the IRS, believe me, you're not taking the Fifth Amendment, as Lois Lerner did. She took the Fifth Amendment. They were asking her, were you involved in this? Did you know about those things? And every time they asked her, well, they didn't get a chance to ask her the question because she stood on her Fifth Amendment rights to remain silent. But understand the gravity of that. This is a public servant, quote unquote. They also want to stress out these public servants. And she, acting in the role of a public servant, took a oath that if that was what that was about, there's nothing for you to take an oath about. You just have to come forward and tell what your role is in carrying out your duties. The mere fact she did the Fifth Amendment, which she has a right to do, by the way. I don't take that from her like Trey did, representative from Utah. I don't think you can say that she has no right to it. But the fact that she did it, though, it makes a statement about what the IRS is really about. And they gave her a leave with pay. Somebody explain that to me, how that goes on. So it's one hand feeding the other, and all of them know what the IRS is up there to do, and that is to intimidate the American people if they, in fact, begin to raise their heads up and begin to declare that they're upset with how the government is being run by these merchants in Washington, D.C., who are nothing but criminals in business suits. And there's not more than 5 of you in the Congress who are different from that. And those who are there that have any integrity at all. And John, I don't include Dingle in any integrity, because although they're celebrating this guy having been the longest serving member of the Congress in history of the United States, that man stood there for 57 years in that corrupt body, not once threatened to resign out of protest for the corruption that's all around him. It's a national disgrace.
Yeah, he was like a political legacy too. I guess his father or grandfather held the same.
22 years his father was in there.
Yes, I mean it's just basically, why bother having elections in this case? Why don't just say the Dingles and the Gildies? Why don't they just have it now? They're just your royal family now. You're just bow to them.
But they just put them back in there. It doesn't matter. Congressman Kildee, even if somebody ran against him, they would stop it.
The only good bright spot in this about Dan Kildee being in Dale Kildee's place, that if there's any monogramming done at the for the congressional bathroom on the toilet, the Patellas, they don't have to change it. It's DK. They saved us a little bit of money.
Well, I tell you, it'll be by accident. They save us money because they're spending like the bull in the China place where they sell China. They're just tearing up everything.
I think y'all gonna be surprised about Dan Kildee. Dan Kildee came up in my time, and so far, what I'm seeing him doing, he is really truly working for the people at this point in Washington, D.C.
I got a different take on it. He's usually just going to find ways of taking money from one group of people to give to another. Basically, that's what.
I haven't seen him do that yet. Okay. Not yet. So
I don't-
far, Dan is up and up to me
I
at
don't-
this point, from because I see him all the time and I talk to him, and he came in the political era which I came up in,
Right.
and we try to be as real as possible. He's not like his Uncle Dale killed him. He's our age group.
I don't see Dale, but see Dale had.
Well, he's younger than George,
Dale,
way
Dale,
younger than
Who's
George.
that younger than
Dale had-
And me, he's younger. He's younger. I'm sorry, John, but he's so far. Dale is. Don is all right. What's his name? Dan. I'm sorry. Dan Kildee is okay with me so far.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't dislike him, but I get the fact. I can't. Okay, if this was a Republican having a seated position like Dingle and all these other guys, that was a Republican. They'd say if he was in there that long, he's got senile. But he's a Democrat, like Dingle is. Oh, he's perfectly fine. He's just as good as a 25-year-old.
Yeah.
I mean, there's such a skill.
Are you talking about Dale Kildee?
No, I'm talking about John Dingle. John Dingle, he's like, he's been in power for too damn long.
Well,
57
didn't he
years.
resign?
57. No, look,
No.
he's not running in 2014. That's what he was about.
Okay.
But John,
He out.
do you know that Dingle was thinking about running for another term? You know what changed his mind? Frank Lunenburg, who died in New Jersey. That guy was 89 years old, and he died in office. That made Dingle rethink his program. He was already getting ready to run again for another term because he would have been elected because we are robots out here, and we think in lockstep, and we act in lockstep politically. And he had the D behind his name in a democratic state, regardless as to his policies. But anytime you're inside of a corrupt body that long period of time, you can't help but have the stench of corruption.
Are y'all
affect him.
comparing Dingle to Dan Kildee here?
Well, Dan Killer just got into
Thank you. He just
got
got
into
there.
Congress, but
Yeah,
he's
the
a
political
but he is a politician just like anybody else.
There's no way you could say that Dan Kildee can actually say that he's not part of this system when his
Well,
family
we know
gets
he's
so
part of the
entrenched.
system.
Yeah, that makes him part of the
Yeah.
corruption.
And he's been a part of the system as long as I have known
This is not
Dan
personal.
Kildee.
Yeah.
Look,
It's not personal. I just say
it's not personal.
He knows the bodies are
you're
buried, I
pro-
guess. That's
you know,
a good thing.
I wrote an article on my Facebook wall. I'm very upfront. I'm kind of in your face, you politicians.
So am I. When
And
I
you
get with
politicians.
Dan, I be up in his face.
Yeah, but look, I wrote this out on my wall last week. I am sick and tired of politicians like Rand Paul and
Rand Paul.
Rand
I
Paul.
thought you liked Rand Paul.
Look, Kathryn, I don't look. You have to understand George Moss. I am not one of these persons that do this and try to figure out, how I feel today. These are politicians,
Oh,
and
okay.
and they're in the
Well, maybe I
cesspool.
Rand Paul.
Rand
That's the
Paul.
guy that was running with
Rand Paul is not his
He was
father.
running for vice president.
I am no. I'm talking about you. Talking about his father. I'm talking about Rand Paul, the one that's in Congress right now, not the one that stepped down.
Right,
position.
the young guy
Yeah, Rand Paul.
that has.
I am sick and tired of Rand
okay.
Paul.
I'm thinking about somebody else.
Yeah, I'm tired of Rand Paul, and I'm tired of this other guy, Marco Rubio, both of whom rode on the coattails of the Tea Party to Washington, D.C., and they're now acting like when they start talking about the government, they're not talking about what they're affiliated with. We need to, this is Rand Paul, we need to, in fact, file a complaint against what they're doing in Washington. You're in Washington. I'm filing a complaint against you. And they try to act like, just what Obama does, act like somehow when you talk about the government's excesses that doesn't include them. You're part of it. And when the Tea Party met last Wednesday in Washington, D.C. to protest what the IRS did, the Tea Party should not have allowed a single politician to meet. It is us against them. And we got to understand those lines are drawn in the sand as a line of demarcation, and we fool ourselves to think that we can have these guys come out here acting like they're on our side. They're part of the structure. And if they want to change it from within. But stay out of our business.
I always get tired of usually a Democrat senator or congressman talk about the inequity of the tax code, and that's how bad and unjust and unfair that is. When it's them who writes the tax code, it's them. They're like professional. I would say like a fart smeller. Like, who did that? Well, yeah, whoever calls the loudest about who did that is probably the one who did it. Okay, and that's exactly what they're doing. The unjust, unfair tax code. And those are the same people who created the tax code that's supposed to be allegedly so unfair and unjust,
Yeah, John, let me say this. You know what? As much as I did not like the idea with the what was that group out there hollering about Wall Street? Whatever that group was called.
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy Wall Street.
Occupy.
As much as I did not agree with their agenda, they did one thing right, and that was when John Lewis, the despicable John Lewis. I understand his rights, background. I respect that in terms of him going across the bridge, but John Lewis is a liar, and he's lying about Selma too, because what he tries to act like is that in the Selma March is conflated with what happened on the 25th when they finally got into Montgomery, when there's two separate events here. Trying to conflate it like they hit him on his head on his way to Montgomery. That did not happen. That was on the 7th of April, the 7th of March, 1965, and he arrived in Montgomery on the 25th of March, which is another march altogether different. So that's something we can talk about on another occasion. But John Lewis, one thing that I say about the Occupy Wall Street is that he went down there to speak in Atlanta. They're in his hometown. You got to go there and tell them I'm with y'all. And you're out here demonstrating against Wall Street. So am I. You're taking money from Wall Street for his election campaign. So what they did when he got there on the stage, they had him over there on the sideline, and they were going through whether or not they're going to let John Lewis speak, and they decided against him speaking. That was the right thing to do. When these politicians come out here to speak to us about anything outside of their office, we should, in fact, shut them down. I don't want to, my own personal view is I don't want to hear anything politicians say. And when they start talking on the screen, I change the station or turn the sound down. Because all of y'all up there in Washington are corrupt. And I'm the person here that's going to be honest enough and in your face enough to tell you about what you're doing. Because you don't fool me. Your power is in your disguise. And that's what you're wearing right now in these farcical hearings. They're not going to go anywhere when it's over. That's mouth speaking. And you can do with that what you want. In fact, they tried to investigate me.
They did?
2 years ago.
Oh.
Sent me two different IRS. I didn't know what it was about at first. I mean, I knew what it was about. But I didn't know it was as deeply embedded in what they were doing holistically to the Tea Party. But I understand the politics now because it came from the same places where they're saying most of the stuff came from. California was one place, and I think the other one was, I forget the other place.
So they was
they were trying to
investigating your political.
It was a political move because I paid my taxes, and I always pay more than what I owe them. You know why? Because I don't want them to have any legitimate reason to kick my doors down.
Well,
It does not mean these tyrants will not kick your door down, which is what they're doing in the Amish community right now. See, we don't get all the news through CBS, NBC, FBS. We certainly get it from LSD, MSNBC, or BS, NBC.
Well, why would they want to be investigating you, George? Is it because you?
They want our mouths closed out here. They don't want us out here talking about enlightening the American people who are the sheeples who've gone through the school system and cannot figure anything out. They want us sheeples in this country.
Don't we have the freedom of speech here?
There are no freedoms in this country. You have liberties at the behest of those in power.
If we have freedom of press, then why do they harass everybody who speaks out against them with the IRS?
So they get more like Germany or these other countries.
We are
European countries.
We already there.
Actually, the Nazis allowed more. I think the Nazis allowed more people to dissent than this country seeming to allow people to dissent.
You know, they wouldn't do it. When I was in Egypt, they didn't political views.
That's what they're doing now.
They controlled the television over there.
Okay,
they let them see what they wanted to see,
when you hear people
what they wanted them to see.
When you hear people like Obama and the Democratic Congress and senators whine about Fox News being such a mouthpiece for the right-wing conservatives, but all the other NBC, CBS, NBC, MSNBC, the other ones are on board and do exactly what they want, but they're bitching and moaning about one group out there that doesn't. And I don't like Fox that much because I can't stand Bill O'Reilly. I can't stand him. To me, he's a rhino. But I mean, when they whine and whine, they want to demonize one group out there who's saying opposite of what they're always got everybody else on board saying. Why? It's like it's a good analogy. It's a good thing to say here. It's a good expression. If you want to know who controls your society, find out who you can't criticize. Those are the people who are running the country, and here it's the Zionists, here it's the people who are pro corporatism. People you got politicians doing backdoor deals. All those people do not want their sins coming to light.
Yeah, I have to sleep at night, and I have to live with myself. And there are certain things I'm not going to do, and I'm willing to pay hell for it, because I am not going to be a willow tree bending in the wind. I have some certain principles I stand for, and anytime those principles are being sabotaged by whomever, I'm going to stand up for what I believe. And these politicians are out of control. I'm going to say that.
Well, I would like to see you, George, on one of these political pundit programs or with your own.
Yeah,
on-
well,
on
they know
national
that.
television or
Trust
somewhere.
me, Kathryn. I've been in too many situations that where things have happened where it could not be going on the way it's going on, particularly when I travel, if they didn't know who I was. And I've had conversations in airports where people have come over to me, because when you're traveling, your itinerary is already posted. So when I'm traveling, there are people come over and sit with me to the exclusion of everyone else and want to engage me in a conversation, as if they just got to talk to me, trying to find out what I'm
Oh,
about
those
and things
people
like
that
that.
come directly to you.
Yeah.
They come walk
Yeah.
right to you.
Yeah.
That's the kind of people
Because
you're talking about.
because there is no reason for me to be singled out for conversations like the ones they engage in,
Right.
unless they are in fact pinpointing that this guy's traveling, want to find out what his itinerary is, and what, not his itinerary, I already have that, but who is this guy, and so on and so forth. And then my boarding pass, I always get kicked out, and I have to sit on the sideline as they type in, why is this guy's been kicked out here? What's the problem? And then I'm allowed to board. I'm the last one always getting on the plane. I mean, they don't bother me because I'm not going to shut up, and I am not intimidated. They know that, and that's why they know that they have to keep a watch on those who have their eyes open. Kathryn, they didn't think about this for a minute. They were actually after the conservative Tea Party groups. They weren't after any Republicans in the Beltway, and I'm telling you why that went on. They weren't investigating anything to do with the Republican Party or the Democratic Party. And why would they then go after the surrogates, quote unquote, of the Republican Party, and which would be the Tea Parties? Well, the reason for that is very, very clear. The conservative Tea Party members are a thorn in the sides of both parties. Neither party likes them because they're trying to hold both parties to account underneath the Constitution of the United States, and both these parties are big party policymakers. They want big government, intrusive government, and the Tea Party wants to shrink it, and neither party wants to go there because it takes away their power. And so therefore they felt licensed, the IRS did, to go after them because they knew that the Tea Party is an enemy of both of the in-house parties. And there's not a dime worth of difference between either one of them. Both parties are corrupt. When you start talking to me about politicians, there's not a dime worth of difference between any of them. And I'm against every last one of them. Those that come out here talking to us and our Tea Party together, you need to stay inside of Congress and shut up. That's all of you.
So you're a part of the Tea Party?
I consider myself to be, Tea Party is like a scattered group that without any, you can't say this is the Tea Party and then that's the end of the story. The Tea Parties are different in every one of the settings. Each one has its own grounding points. There are some things we have in common. We all believe in, we're taxed enough already. We believe in smaller government. We believe in the Constitution and the mandates therein.
See, when you say we, that means it includes
when
you.
I say Tea Party members, there are some basic principles that all Tea Party members will cater to.
Okay, but
But
you
in
say
terms
we,
of-
and that means includes you.
Yeah, when I say we, I mean I consider myself to be affiliated with the ideals of the Tea Party.
Okay,
Now,
but
formally,
not necessarily a
no,
member.
I go and join them when they meet. I was in Glenn Beck's march when they met in Washington on 8/28/2010. I was there because I agree with the ideological outlook of the group.
Right,
We're too large. The government is too big. It's too powerful. It's too
But do
intrusive.
they still hold those same sentiments?
That's
now?
basically what they stand for, and all that stuff that they stand for racism. They're trying to keep black folks out. All that crap they put out there is nothing than that. But these are people that want to quiet those who ain't buying their nonsense.
So that's when you're on TV, when they're on television saying anything or showing the Tea Party and they show something racial, that was because that television station or program was trying to make the Tea Party seem as if it's racist.
Yeah, that's what they're doing. They want to discredit it. Some of this is planning. In the Republican Party, John, I don't know if you saw this or not, but in the Republican Party, let me get my teeth in here right. In the Republican Party, that was planted. At the Republican convention. Oh yeah, they had CNN, and they had this one guy talking right into the press about blah blah blah. I forget all the words he used, and he was simply going off on some racial note. All that stuff was in fact planted. And the ones who were inside the Republican Party were saying, look here, we don't know where that came from, but we're not supporting that. And those persons that come to those Tea Party gatherings, it just happened to be they start going off when the cameras around. The people at Tea Party are saying, look, we don't know where that came from. That ain't what we're here for. They're planting these people in there to discredit the Tea Party because we don't understand how vicious these people actually are. And you know what? I would really, Kathryn, I feel so strongly about this. I'd rather be dead than to bow down to tyrants. And in my lifetime, I don't know how much time I got left, it's not going to happen. I'm going to stand up to these tyrants, and I'm going to oppose them as much as I can, whatever I have the brain to bear, because they don't scare me, and I am not going to buckle, I'm not going to bend, and I'm not going to break. This is not Whitney Houston. I mean, this is Whitney Houston's song. I wasn't, you know, Darren Walker did not tell me I wasn't meant to break. You know, they said,
add that song into it now.
When Whitney Houston said that my mama told me I wasn't meant to break, you know what? I knew that before. My mom never told me that, but I kind of knew that without her telling me. And I didn't have to have, what's that singer's name? Darren Walker tell me that either. I wasn't meant to break, and they're not going to break me. They just that, I mean, it would have done it by now.
I wasn't meant to break.
I wasn't meant to break.
Right.
And I like the song, and I came to the idea the song is talking about.
Well, it's a song by First Samuel who says, "I ain't scared."
I ain't scared.
And he uses Psalms 27. Yeah.
Well, so you have to be grounded in something that gives you something that gives you some backbone.
Psalms 27.
And Psalm 27 would do that and other things as well. But whatever it takes for you to stand up and be a person with principles.
I ain't scared.
You know, there was one guy, you know, careful on my wall, there was one guy that asked me, a young guy that's going to my college, he read my post, he was saying, what can I do? And I know you called for a constitutional convention. What did we do in the interim in terms of how we keep it together in the aftermath, you know, before we have the aftermath of what you're calling for and before changes take place? What would we do? And I told him that one of the things you do is do not become corrupt around, based upon the corruption all around you, and try to, in fact, claim a victory every day that will defeat lesser persons who are lesser than what you are, and claim a victory over that which will defeat people who don't have your perseverance and do not stand up on the principle which you stand. And try to do that every day, because a lot of people bend, buck down, and dance and lose themselves every day. And at the end of the day, there's somebody else than what they started out on that day being. If you can be the same person, true to your values on a regular basis without being corrupted, then that's a victory that you have over 99% of the people in this country, most of whom have gone the way of the sheep.
You know what I don't like about a person that changes on you? Because, you know, like when you see me, I'm the same. Now, if I'm angry, I'll let you know I'm angry. If I'm angry at you, I'm going to tell you why I'm angry so we can talk it out. But I like a person that's the same. Don't change on me. Tomorrow I see you and you don't even want to look at me. And I'm sitting here, what did I do?
Yeah.
You know, what did I do? I don't like them kind of people. Yeah,
I don't either.
Now that's the thing I detest.
I'm sure.
In the Congress.
I'm getting ready to argue about that.
People.
Yeah. And look, hypocrites are everywhere, and I can't stand them either. And I'm going to call them out on it. You know, I had some of my former students. They want to claim they just can't understand Mr. Moss anymore. And you taught Black history all those years, and we were listening to what you was. They'll tell y'all to go and start acting like you part of the Klan organization.
Oh, I've heard them tell me that you have changed from when you done heard it too.
Yeah, changed.
From when you was teaching your
changed today. Nothing. You know what? They got to understand something, and I don't care if they understand it or not. I have not changed. What I said in that classroom was absolutely true, and I said it in the face of superintendents, board members, and administrators. And I said it because it was true. And that truth that I was saying was because I was teaching history. What I'm saying right now is also true, and it comes from the same well. And because it's something that they don't want to deal with in terms of their lack of principles, they want to claim that there's a change in the discourse. There's no change.
Well, sometimes you have to change because of the times. And even though you know the past and you taught the past and you taught
they can say what
Black
they want
history
to. They don't move me.
in school at that time, this is what made you today.
Yeah. Well, you see, take some of the things we disagree with would be like, for example, the George Zimmerman case.
Oh.
They think because there's a black person and a white person involved in it, you automatically take the black person's side. I tell you what I do.
Oh, that's like that.
I take the side of that which is principle. You understand that? If I'm on that jury when O.J. Simpson's going to trial, O.J. Simpson by my verdict is in jail. Because that's the way I roll. And those persons have no principle want to jump on one side and jump on another side because they don't have the principle and want to talk about you changed. I have not changed. That's you out here talking out of both sides of your mouth and you're a bunch of hypocrites. And I will call you on it just like I called.
That's true, y'all.
On
He
it,
has not changed in his, what he says. Because
I don't care if they say I changed or not. They don't move me. I go by. Look, I'm grounded. I am fundamentally grounded in what I am, and I do not move by people denouncing or applauding. Whether they applaud me, it doesn't make any difference. And if they in fact denounce me, it doesn't make any difference. I'm standing where I stand.
That's it.
And
I'm just
I don't need
me,
any witness.
just you, right?
Yeah, I mean.
And that's it. You know, and everybody got their own opinions.
What you see is what you get.
Thank you.
And you don't get any more than that, any less than that. And I do not apologize for where I stand. And that's what
you
they found out.
Also, back it up. You one thing I like about it is you back it up. I like what John does too. And me and John be talking, y'all backs it up. You know what I'm saying? You ain't just sitting up here with an opinion that come out the blue. You come with something that can back up what you say.
I'll tell you what I do on Facebook. I say this all the time, and that is I don't care if I'm the only one out here saying what I'm saying and standing up for principle. I don't care if there is not one other person that agrees with me. What they're doing to this man down here in Florida, in Sanford, Florida, is nothing but a lynch law. And I'm gonna say that because
you talking about Zimmerman?
I'm talking about George Zimmerman, and I'll say that.
Who has an all-woman's jury?
Yeah, and
you know those people are gonna be sympathetic to. That's a child.
I don't know
why they have all women, no men.
Well,
what's up with that?
Because what they were doing was giving these exemptions based upon who they felt would listen to the evidence in the case. There are some exemptions that the defense have, and there are some that the prosecutors have, and they both use the exemptions to get the jury they feel will be most fair to their case.
Really?
Yes.
Women?
Yeah.
Women are more sympathetic to a child dying.
Yeah, but these men out here, yeah, there are a lot of things you can say, but sometimes you have to look at the gender issue as well. And sometimes you look at it from the stand. Well, I don't know if they have decided all we want is an all-woman jury.
It's all women.
I know it's all women, but there is 6 of them, 6 women, 5 of whom are white and 1 of whom is black. The question is, will the jury listen to the evidence? But if you're up there doing what they did in O.J. Simpson trial, for example, one guy is hiding in the shadows and was a member of the Black Panther Party, what kind of justice is that going to give to Ron Goldman and Nicole Brown, where a man is hiding out in the mix that knew that he was not about justice, about turning O.J. Simpson loose? Now, my point is this. I came out...
You don't think the same thing is going to happen here with Zimmerman?
Well, I don't...
It's women. If it, you know, if anything...
If they would listen... If
they could listen to the evidence, George, and still, sympathetic women are mothers, especially if they got children. There's a sympathetic heart that's going to be there. Okay.
Well,
they may not really truly listen.
I'll wait and see.
But I gotta see.
When the verdict is rendered, we'll know a lot more about this jury. I cannot preempt them sitting in trial and listen to the evidence. But I will tell you this: all persons who are constituent to this trial have been put into a proverbial corner where they're between a rock and a hard place. And that is that if they in fact exonerate George Zimmerman, then they're going to have these people out here claiming that the jury, the mix of the jury made a racist decision. If they in fact convict him, then the problem there is that the evidence seems to be something different than that verdict. I'm looking at this case, and it is interesting to me that most of what we think we know about this case has been a matter of NBC and other networks doctoring the tapes. These tapes have been doctored.
Well, wait till the trial. That's what I tell all people. You know, what you seen and heard on television is the media. Okay, and the media lies, like you say, doctor it or whatever, doctor it up or embellish the lie. Wait till the actual trial begins. I think they're gonna have live coverage on it, isn't it?
It's gonna be live coverage. But
wait for that, and then come to the conclusion yourself.
I ask people in this case, what do you know about the case? They start going off in all these tangential areas where what they're importing is nonsense.
And most of it is racism.
And the press, and I don't have enough time to go into this motivation. There are certain motives they can be attached to what they're doing.
Racism.
And why they're not really reporting
the truth.
The other side of a lot of the news that's taking place right now, where blacks are the instigators of some racial assaults, where hate crimes are being committed by blacks, it goes unreported on a regular basis. And I got the FBI statistics to verify that. Well, those of you out there that roll that way, you know, you won't understand where I'm coming from. I don't care if you do or not. I dismiss you as being serious. Most people I come in contact with are a bunch of hypocrites, and I ain't buying none of the things you talk about. That's why once I give you the evidence out here and you can't refute it, so I talk about you changed, I befriend you because you're a liar and the truth ain't in you. And I have nothing to say to you if you're not interested in principle. And there's a lot of folks out there like that. And I've been once I give them the information and I show them where there's an article. One person said to me last week, what do you have? Some kind of special news service that you get no one else gets? So I reprinted an article in the paper that they missed, which says NBC fired some of the ones that doctored those tapes. Show them the article, and they still dismiss it. You know what I did? I defriended them because you're not gonna waste my time.
That was on your Facebook?
Yeah, because what I do is that if I find that you don't care about the truth, I don't have any use for you, and you waste my time. I'm a person of principle, and I don't care if no one agrees with me, Kathryn. Look, you'd be surprised.
You know when somebody says something to me about, I'll say George is not here to defend himself.
Look here, I don't need
and I was not one of his students, and when he was teaching out there, so I know you don't. But if they're coming up to me and they got something to say about you, then they need to go to you, not to me about it.
They didn't come to me because I don't want to hear it. You're not a person of principle, and you can shut up and don't get in my face about none of it because I don't hear nothing you got to say. I don't take you seriously because you don't take yourself seriously. If you don't stand up on a principle, I mean, if they lynch Emmett Till and you are clear about that being wrong, and you have nothing to say about the lynching that's going on right now in your purview, I don't have no respect for you. And I'll tell you another thing. I was in Africa. I looked at all these people going over to Africa, and there was me. Look at how the Africans were treated in terms of this dungeon they were in, the slave trade, and look how black folks were treated. And there was slavery going on next door up there in Mauritania. And those people that have nothing to say about it because they want to make some indictment about what happened in the past because a certain group involved in that enslavement. And there are people enslaving black people right now. They have nothing to say about it. You know what? You can take that over here to Jump Street, but they don't work in George Moss's domain. And what you all are saying, you know, that's why I get stronger after you come out with your nonsense because it doesn't faze me. I don't care what you think. I dismiss you. If you're not a person of truth, I don't care what y'all say out there. And that is not just something that came out yesterday. I put my job on the line in teaching when I taught, and I'm shocked that I was able to retire.
That's one thing I'll say. George stands for what he says. He doesn't back down. If this is what his truth in his heart and he believes it, he's not backing down.
The hell will freeze over first, because that's not going to happen.
So that's it. And I'm the same way. If I'm what I'm into and I'm believing what I'm doing and speaking about, I'm not going to back down either. Yeah. And I also back up what I'm saying. I can show you the facts. So I just don't come out here out the blue saying certain things. I have studied it, researched it, went in depth with it, talked with George Moss about it and other people at the Commit study group, and come to my conclusion. That's not necessarily making somebody else's conclusion, but I'm going to stand by it.
Well, you know, you're either a person that stands for something, you fall for everything. And that's what most persons are. That's what most people are. They are people that can be led astray by just the slightest hand trick. And for example, 45% still believe this president is nothing but a straight up liar. And 45% of people still believe that this man is a moral leader, and that. Let me.
Wait, can I say something to John?
Yeah. Mm.
You know, John, when I was telling you about that, Obama lost me when he attacked the Social Security. That didn't last long. The seniors came out on him in full force. He dropped that totally, completely. He's not going to try to cut our monies or anything.
You wait until 2014 when Obamacare kicks in. well, you're going to find that you're not saving $2,500 in terms of money saved for your health care, but the insurance is going to go up $3,500. You wait until those things kick in, the Obamacare is going to start costing to pay for this tyrannical intrusion in our lives where the federal government is going to dictate health care in this country.
Well,
Well,
what
it
about
took
the
over-
Medicaid that's going on, Medicare that's in the state of Michigan where he wants to give coverage to thousands of people? I mean, isn't that the same
Where
thing?
is it authorized in the Constitution and the
Governor
restrictions?
Snyder is doing it, I'm telling you.
Yeah, the government has no role in terms of things it's doing, and what it's doing is making it prohibitive in terms of the cost, which is why we on this unsustainable course that
I
we're on
thought
right
that's
now.
what they was trying to keep
Yeah. It's not about health,
Medicare down.
it's not about health. It's not about health care. It's about control. And when you had Obamacare put into the mix, they took over 1/6 of the national economy of the United States. It's about power according to Washington, D.C. And if anybody thinks that you're going to have the cost reduced of medical care, when you add not only the medical cost itself into the mix, and then you have the bureaucracy on top of that, and the cost goes down, that's about it. You're talking to people that don't understand economics.
So you hear about by 2040, they estimate we're going to have 43 more million immigrants coming to the United States.
Yes.
43 million more.
Well, they're trying to make it so that they can come to the United States and become full citizens.
Yeah,
Because they said it will boost the economy.
I don't see how.
I don't know
They're
how.
going to be on the system. They're going to be on the tip.
They don't have jobs for people that's here now. So how they gonna boost the economy?
And that is why
I mean, I don't get it.
But yeah, guess what? You know the politicians are going to
they are
do this.
destroying
They're
this
not
country.
going to be called on.
That's what they're doing. They are destroying this country, and we have got to understand these politicians are not. Where is the country in terms of anything that they actually do? Let me see if I can find that one real quickly. I'm not going to give you able to cover the ones that I want to cover because we get into these conversations, which I really enjoy, but we don't finish out what I came to the studio to.
Well, finish, because I still got some stuff I want to ask you
Our
about.
Congress regularly votes on pork-laden bills written in legalese that no one has actually read cover to cover. That's number 13. 14. We have so many laws.
Wait, go back there. Explain that to me.
Our
Say it
Congress
again.
regularly votes on pork-laden bills written in legalese. They don't want you to understand what they're voting on. And it's pork barrel because all that's in there is a pork they can throw back at their constituents where they can maintain their constituents voting for them.
So is that pork that means some meat that they throwing back at their constituents?
Entitlement programs.
Okay, that's what
But
pork
the
barrel.
entitlement
I
program,
never wondered what pork. I always
Yeah,
wondered
pork
what
barrel.
that meant.
that means that
They
each
talking
one is
about
feeding their constituents. Yeah, because they want to get your vote. And they're willing to use taxpayers' money to do it. They're not using their money because they're not even paying taxes. I mean, them are tax
Thank you for
cheats.
telling me what that was.
Yeah,
because I
that's
didn't know what
13.
That was entitlements.
Yeah,
It's pork barrels.
yeah, you guys have been in Washington, you ladies have been in Washington all over the 60s.
See this?
14.
I didn't know that.
We have so many laws and regulations that almost every American is breaking the law somehow on a daily basis. Did you put the right light bulb in your light fixture? Did you when you flush your toilet, was it with more water than what you're supposed to use? If you did that, you broke the law. They got so many regulations out here. And when I argue that the only regulations that you need are the regulations of the consuming public, because if we don't vote with our dollars, they can't do what they're doing in business. We don't need regulations. The regulators are the American people. What are these coming up here passing all these intrusive laws and crazy with their crazy
Well,
selves?
them state by state laws. is
Yeah,
good
all of
too.
that too. What we need to do is restrict them to meeting in Washington to what's required in the Constitution, where they meet once a year. They have to meet once a year by the Constitution in Article 1. Anything beyond that, you're being too much information. Let's see, 15. When the Republican Party and Democratic Party collaborate, now this one, Kathryn, in a bipartisan manner, is almost always to screw the American people in order to help some influential or deep-pocketed special interest group. So anytime they have a bipartisan, in fact, we don't want a bipartisan cooperation. You know why? That means that both of y'all doing us in. We want y'all to have no bipartisanship, bipartisan conflict. Because when you cooperate with each other, the American people are the losers of the
Bipartisan
proposition.
means one holds your arms down while the other one wails on.
That's a good one, John.
Yeah, that's what it amounts to.
That's a real good one.
Yeah, let me read this one to you. If those aren't bad enough. Number 16. Our politicians in Washington, D.C. are just as corrupt, this is Kathryn, as those South American politicians we laugh at for taking bribes. The only difference is our politicians are smarter about it. A bribe is illegal, but giving their relatives an incredible high paid job or slipping an earmark into a bill that will end up helping their investments to thrive is considered par for the course in Washington, D.C. So they're just as corrupt as they are in the Banana Republic. In fact, we have the Banana Republic here without the name. In number 17, our overbearing politicians and bureaucrats feel entitled to tell you how to run almost every aspect of your life. They think they know better than you what health care you should have, where your kids should be allowed to go to school, what you should be able to do with your own property, what TV, toilet, or shower head you should be allowed to buy.
How you should dress, how you should
that
eat,
too, and
where
what,
you should eat.
yeah, what light bulb you should have,
That's all
and even what
government.
size of soda you should be able to drink.
Should you eat an egg or not?
Yeah, I mean, what is that? If that's not tyranny, you don't want to bust them upside their bone head.
They're doing it because they care so much for us.
Yeah,
That's what they're doing it for.
Yeah, that's what Rand Paul was trying to say. That he was trying to frame it as if this is about benevolence and part of government. That they just don't think you're capable of taking care of yourself. So the government will take care of us. The government doesn't want to take care of us. If the government will take care of us,
slavery to me.
They will leave us alone and stop killing jobs in this country with their whole regulation of the free market.
I like to know what people like to think when I say that too. I said, what's slavery? They said, well, people had to work and they didn't enjoy the benefit of their labor. I went, and that's what. How is that different from what the taxpayers in this country are going through now? They work all the time. The government sucks our money out of us before we even get it. And yeah, we're supposed to be happy with it, not question them. And how dare you question their
And
motive?
then they tell you how to live.
That's
how to raise your children.
That's all they're doing.
All of it. Even in church, how to deal with it. They have specific things that I found out that they have these conferences. They come together and they set the agenda there.
Yeah.
And that's what they teach in the churches and stuff. So the government is a part of your every aspect of your life, whether you realize it or not.
Well, how is gay marriage reconcilable with Christianity in itself? But so many mainstream churches are on board with it. I mean, I don't see the black pastors holding up against it. I really don't. And they're supposed to be the pillars of their community. They should be screaming bloody murder about that. But they're not. They're going along with it because it's a Democratic Party. Their party of theirs.
Exactly.
Pushing it.
Oh, and maybe because the church is full of gay people too.
Yeah, and
they want gay people,
things like that.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They don't want to push them away. As one pastor told me, I'm sorry,
Go ahead.
that they are for sick people. They consider them sick. And that's what the church is for them to come for healing. Okay, now that's one pastor's view.
What did Christ say about the woman taking a brought into him? They called her an adultery. He said, "I don't judge you, but he said, but go and sin no more." He doesn't say go back to your lifestyle.
Right.
You know what? Most of the churches that I'm seeing right now, full of gay people.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I do not make any civil claims against a person's right to choose the partner that he wants or she wants to be with. That is a personal matter. But for people to start telling me,
don't impose it on me.
Yeah, but when people start telling me that's marriage, when marriage has a institutional purpose, and that is in order for the society to replicate itself, and that is procreation.
Right.
It's never been defined as any union where procreation cannot be a part of the product. Never. It may be multiple women involved in it, multiple men involved in it, but it's always been heterosexual. And it's for the reason of the society has a vested interest in it. For example, in a heterosexual relationship, you can bring forth the army. You know what? That's why I get a benefit from it. Because if you bring forth the children can protect me. So that's why society gets involved in marriage.
That's why men too like to have.
But for this president to talk about he's and also going to commend Jason Collins, talking about what courage it was for him to come out and say that he prefers men of his own gender. Where is there any? The basketball player hit 1 point a game. The one that's gonna get.
He's supposed to be the first one that came out.
The one's gonna get thrown out of the NBA because he cannot shoot, and was using this as leverage to stay in the NBA next year because they get rid of him now. They're getting rid of a guy because he's gay.
Oh.
Kept his mouth closed for 12 years. Okay, well, we got me started, and I didn't finish my list.
Okay, but
which I never do.
That is the truth about the family. Only it takes a man and a woman to reproduce.
Yeah.
a woman and woman
Yeah,
cannot
marriage is
reproduce,
man and woman,
neither can man
but your
and man.
relationships are your relationships. We have no right to be intruding into it.
Don't,
That's your
don't
choice.
intrude in me,
But don't be
don't
telling me
impose
it's
on
marriage.
me because of what you prefer your
Yeah,
lifestyle
yeah,
to be.
I have no problem with anything that you're doing in your the privacy of your home. That's your civil right to engage in that based on your own sovereignty. But that's a separate issue. Okay, we gotta get out of here. Moss is talking too much.
Yeah, but they call
And-
that phobia.
Man, when
If they call it a
no,
phobia,
it's not phobia because I'm giving them their
that's
right
what
to
they do.
their
If you say
relationship.
if you stand up against homosexuality, then they're labeling you.
Yeah, because they
You're
want
the one that's wrong.
Yeah, but they
and
know-
right, and
they-
that's just
that's
not.
their agenda.
Don't impose it on me.
They
That's
want to
all I'm
shut you up
saying.
if you want to do it. I'm telling you, you have the right to that. It's not a phobia. I'm not
That's what they
homophobic.
call.
No, they can call it they want to.
It's something else they call
It's
it.
not what
too.
you called me. It's what I answered to. I answered to that charge. You have the right to that. Okay, we gotta get out of here.
Wait, George, you got 5 minutes.
We got 5 minutes. We have to get out of here, Kathryn.
Oh, okay, you gotta go.
Yeah.
We're about hour and 1 minute right now.
Okay.
Okay, because
Then-
we started at 2. Okay, we
Let
didn't
me wrap
start
this
at
up.
2. Then
We
I
got an
just
audio
had
now.
some more questions I had to ask him. That's
Oh,
all.
ask me
I'll
off
ask
camera.
him later.
Okay, we gotta get out of here. Glad that you will stay with us for an hour and 5 minutes, and we'll be within the time next time. Want you to always follow your dream, because if you don't follow your dream, you'll never know what's on the other side of the rainbow.
All right now.